Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are going to continue meditating together, doing some power transmissions together, practicing the law of assumption together, and reclaiming our full authority. We're going to keep listening to the script, book, workshop, whatever you want to call it, experience I made that is all about reclaiming our supreme authority in our reality. If you're new here, be sure to go to the other videos first. You can catch up if you want to follow along. For everybody that's been on the journey with me, welcome back. Let's keep going. I want to start tonight's session off with a cool little visual that I like to do just to help us get into that 0 point energy I've been talking about, back into your power. Especially when the 3D is like pulling you out, seemingly pulling you out. You know, one way, and if you've done my most recent like nervous system reset meditation, I'm pretty sure I speak about it in it, or listen. The script definitely talks about how our nervous system is wired to the 3D. And it's, you know, if we're still in a survival mindset, we're like wired to react to the 3D to know if we're safe or not, right? And it's really difficult to manifest and sustain our wish fulfilled if we don't feel safe in our body, if our nervous system is literally wired to reacting to the mirror. So even though it's the mirror, if we're constantly under the impression or the assumptions that were ingrained in us, you know, in our upbringing that, you know, the 3D world is God, essentially, and we are not. If we are wired to believe that this is not the effect, this is the cause, and we're the effect, we're completely turning the tables. We're rewiring our nervous system to redefine, reveal the truth that you actually are the operant power, to be still and know that you are God. Your awareness of being is God, goddess, however you want to phrase it. And it's actually your states that create. And circumstances, no matter what they're reflecting, they don't matter in the sense that it's a past reflection. The only thing that matters is how you respond to it and what you believe to be true about it, right? And so if our nervous system is like locked on to the 3D as God, as this tells me who I am and what's going on, we're still in that reversal. Okay, well then things can seem incredibly frightening because technically too, if we know the truth that this is all moving backwards, right? We're like walking through the world backwards. The 3D is always reflecting past assumptions, past beliefs. We're walking through it backwards. Well then, yeah, life is going to feel incredibly terrifying, right? If it's constantly showing us things that are ready to be let go of, things that we're ready to revise, to replace, especially when we're digging into, okay, I'm the operant power, I'm the soul creator. So every belief that's like, this is the authority, this is the law, this is what you have to do for money, for love, for sex, this is what you have to be to survive, right? All that starts to come up, and then our nervous systems are like, this is not safe. Imagining is not safe. It's very hard to imagine when we are in fight or flight beyond imagining safety. Let me get to safety. But because that comes from a state of like panic or fear or worry, it obviously creates more of the same, right? And this is where the best we can do in those moments, I'm going to give you my little tool right now, is we can give ourselves little anchorings, little things that will get us back in our body. And so even if it's too much of a moment, there's too much momentum, like not reacting is kind of not an option. Happy to be back. What I like to do is give myself like little cheat codes or visuals that are my go-to in moments where I just know everything that's happening, it feels too real. There's too much belief. There's too much emotion. What can I imagine to kind of just at least get a little bit of power back? Just a little bit. Just if I can get a little bit more power back in that moment, that's all I need to do. So When things are really showing me the opposite, I like to imagine my person, my higher self, my animals, the ones I love, touching me somewhere on my body. My favorite one is like, I'll have my person's like hands or arms around my belly, my hips to kind of get me back in my body. And I'll even imagine, and if you are like part of like my past meditations, the Manifest Together library that's still, available past meditations I've done, that's where I do really in-depth experiences of this, where it's like I'll have his hands around my body. I can like feel his chest, or like I'll have my animals, I can feel their fur, or my little one, you can feel them. And they'll just kind of be whispering to me in that moment, it's okay. You're still God. This is just on its way up. You're safe. You're still God. It's on its way out. Whatever you think is lacking, we're right here. It's right here. And when you kind of know what makes you feel safe, right? For me, it's like I need to know that my family is well. I need to know that, really, if there's anything that makes me feel safe, it's to know the ones I love are safe and they're okay. Because to be honest, like nothing panics me more. It's just the thought that whoever I love is, suffering in some way. So when I feel them, even in that moment when everything's going wrong, and they can tell you the thing like, oh, there's money in the bank, the bills are paid. This is just a shadow. Change the channel. Just go to the channel where it's done. And I can just take a few deep breaths back into my body. Maybe I can feel some squeezes on me. Maybe you can even do it to yourself in that moment. But get back in your hips, get back in your body. Get back in the temple, if you will. One of my favorite meditations I ever did, and workshops I ever did, was on the 12 disciples. And it was really going into how Neville describes the 12 disciples, how they all stand for different attributes that we want to master the mind. And Neville talks about when you turn these 12 apostles, disciples, whatever you want to call them, from enemies into an army, right? Because he talks about someone that's not disciplined in their mind, these parts of us, like these are the 12 characteristics where if they're not in place, they are creating your hell on earth, right? They are creating like your worst fears. But in your worst fears, if you can learn to remind yourselves, I've even done this where I think I've talked about this. Well, I'll imagine those 12 disciples or just like 12 characteristics as like my 12 boyfriends. I just love that. Where they're all reminding me like, hey, because it's like the first one's Peter or Simon, which is, Simon is it's the I am. Well, it becomes Peter, which is the I am. And Simon is I only hear the good. So it's disciplined listening, right? Where it's like, even if all is going into chaos out here, I would hear like, no, the bills are paid. Your loved ones are right here. You are safe. You're taken care of. Like, and then that becomes the I am, Peter. So I am safe. I am loved. I am wealthy. I'm healthy. I'm sheltered. I'm taken care of, right? I am heard. I'm seen. I'm nourished. I'm celebrated. I'm recognized. I am guided, right? It becomes the I am. And then I think it goes, I actually kind of do have them memorized, right? That it's like Andrew is courage. Bartholomew, I believe, well, there's Philip, which is turning the formless into form. There's Bartholomew, oh God, what is Bartholomew? Which is imagination, I'm pretty sure. It's like a perfect divine imagination where even in the worst, instead of your imagination focusing on like trying to escape from the worst, you can in that moment use your imagination to be like, oh, my loved ones are right here. And then a cat arrives, right? And then like, because it's Andrew courage, Bartholomew, right? Divine imagination, awakened imagination. Thomas is the doubter, where it's like, I doubt this doubt. I always imagine Thomas is like such a sassy, like, I doubt that's not happening, right? If we've imagined it, and you are God, then I doubt it's not happening. There's so John, and there's two are connected. John and the other one words. Again, I know this more from a Neville perspective, awakened imagination, where it's the turn the beauty into ashes, which is the one I think I've struggled with the most, especially if I have a strong sense of justice, right? Especially coming from a life where I've never received justice. Up until recently, it's an old reality. But with that one, it's like, it's everyone is you pushed out, and understanding that everyone is just acting from your foundation of consciousness. So if you start to train your sense of consciousness that everyone betrays me, everyone hurts me, which is obviously my old deal, into others now represent to me that I'm loved. Others are now deeply loyal to my wish fulfilled. Others are now kind, compassionate. Well, then you take, again, the beauty from the ashes. So instead of judging them harshly and holding that, which holds you in a state of being surrounded by others, you put yourself into a reality where others, whether it's them or it'll show up in someone else, can show up as kind, compassionate, loving beings. Look at this girl. Okay, so can I rattle off the rest? Then we'll go into the book. There's John, because it's John John the Beloved is what he says. Because then I think there's like another Simon, which is like you sit at the table. And these are like the imaginal acts I've given myself to try to remind myself of this, is like, one is praise. I can't think of who praise is right now. Matthew, maybe? I think Matthew's praise. Where Neville says it like it opens up the windows. That is where you're in the desert and the flower blooms with praise. And praise is another one I've struggled with, because I always saw gratitude as something that was used in kind of like toxic positivity. Do you know what I mean? Like, growing up, I'd always hear God is good, God is good. And like the worst scenarios, we'd be in the worst scenarios and they'd be like, well, God is good. And it's like, no, this is not good. No. So I've had to reframe praise into, instead of kind of like finding the good in every situation, I did it more like God is like the good, like states. My truth, my consciousness of being, which is God. Like I give thanks for the gift that was already given to me. So the money in the bank, or the wealth, or the happy family members, like I'm thankful for that, because it's the gift that's freely given and can't be taken. I like to use praise more for like reminding myself that whatever my wish fulfilled is, even if it's not out here yet, it's the law and it's the gift freely given, so it can't be taken. And I did nothing to earn it. That's a big one for me too with the praise. I think because of my upbringing, there was so much condition around love, and like you have to work, you have to do this. With praise for me, it's like it's the gift freely given. I get it no matter what. It's mine no matter what. Nobody can take it from me, which has been like another big lesson for me, is having so many things stolen from me and having to like restart over and over all my hard work, and then realizing, but it wasn't the hard work that got me it, right? It was just acknowledging it's mine, accepting it's mine, which for me was a ton of untangling of the conditions of I have to work for things, and then I'm proud of that, but then it can be taken, versus like everyone gets what they decide they get. Everyone is worthy to get whatever they want, whether you work for it or not. It's just a matter of, did you accept it as the gift freely given in your imaginal action? Did you stay there? Because then another disciple, I can't think of the name, but it's kind of, Neville talks about it, how I like the imagery of you're at the table of blessings, even amongst your enemies. So I love the image of like you're in the world of milk and honey. You have it all, even while all hell is breaking loose around you. That to me is that still point of your person holding you at the table with you, be like, we got it all. A great image for that is like if you have a favorite drink or food, you can imagine yourself like at a throne, right? Even when the worst is happening, imagine yourself at a throne, drinking your favorite drink, having your favorite food, completely relaxed. Even while the world around you is still playing out old beliefs, you and your person and your whole table, whoever is like important to you, you're at the table and you can't be moved. That's the land of milk and honey within, in your heart, in your body. And now the mind is picturing it, right? And then I'm trying to get to the end. I can like go through I have the 12 disciples printed out that I love. And if you have the Manifest Together library, you would find this in that one with the 12 disciples. That there's a printout with it that I made to make them all your boyfriends or girlfriends, whatever. It doesn't matter. Judas. I'm sure I'm missing one or two, but Judas. So that's the detachment from the old nature. And this to me is where it's so important through those other ones that it gets me to a place of safety in my nervous system. Because when it comes to letting go, so Judas represents, in the way Neville phrases it, as letting go of the old man. He talks about how Judas is like a sacrifice. He dies like for I don't want to quote how Neville puts it. It's obviously worth looking up. But Judas shows us the old man. And to me, that's like when all hell is breaking loose and the old version of myself, right, is getting triggered. The old version of everything is playing around me. That is when we are dying to the old world and becoming our new self. And just like with death, right? To me, there's always like a few days of like, oh, right, Judas, that's where we can't put the new wine into old bottles, is another way Neville will put it. Another way I like to put it is the old conversations have to replace by the new conversations. So let's say it's your person. If they're out there saying, I don't want you, I don't want to do this, or you're not important, they're like saying all the old stuff. That's where on the inside, get your 12 boyfriends together, including Judas, where it's like, that's just the old nature. Hear exactly what you want to hear from the new one. Feel what you need to feel. But that's where you also go into like John the Beloved and forget his friend, that they're always together, where we forgive in the sense of revise it. Like that's the old, which got me really clear on the new. And we can forgive it more in the sense of like, I can see that was the old reality and that's not showing up in my consciousness anymore. Why? Because I said so. Because this is what I'm hearing now. And then when we can detach, so Neville talks about Judas helps us detach from the old nature. And there's going to be things that our nervous system, our inner child wants to cling to. And that's okay. But that's where I like to really gather up my inner children and be like, we are safe to do the full send into the new reality. We're safe to truly be loved now. Because a part of me still might be like, but we have to work for love, right? We have to prove that we're loved. We have to do this for acceptance, right? Like we have to do this and this and that for the gifts that we're always freely given, which is safety, love, belonging. Obviously, I take it to the next level of like fame, fortune, wealth, health, whatever you want it to be. I think those are just great ways to magnify it. But the part of us, I use this cute photo of me here. I love that though. Yes. Use a photo. Yes. Use all, because it's all props anyway, right? Use props to hear what you need to see what you need to. And then continue to lovingly detach, or starkly, whatever, from the old nature, from the old world. Sit at your table with everyone, with everything you want. And especially once the inner children feel safe, which is why I do like the nervous system reset things that I highly suggest to get those to those really ingrained ones. Once the inner child in you really knows they're safe, like truly, like love is freely given, you're loved. You could do everything all day, you could do nothing all day, you're loved. Money, abundance, freely given. You could work your butt off, you could do nothing, freely given. Once you do that with the repetition needed, at times, right, for our inner children, depending on your background and whatever was ingrained, then there truly is a safety in doing the full send and living from the end. Living from the end is so, oh, I love this. So I use the cute little photo of me when I was little. Me too. No, it's okay to delete. Yeah, no, I do that. I have little photos of me that I actually got really big. Um, and I put them up in spaces I am all the time. Uh, and I just would hold her. And then what I found was really hard, honestly, is I found parts of me from like my awkward phases. Like, oh my gosh, when I was like 11, 7, like so many different ages where just parts of me that I were so like shadow banned from myself. Like there was so much chaos during those periods that even looking at those photos of me, at first it was unbearable. But then as I brought them into the table where we're all safe, we're all there, we have all our 12 disciple boyfriends protecting us, and we get through those judgments that we had of ourselves or that were implanted by others, whatever, what it does for our bodies to feel safe, at least for me, has been astounding. And then I've done this with clients where then, I bring my person in too to be like, he accepts all the little parts of me and the awkward teenager parts of me, and especially the most like embarrassing, shame-filled moments, bringing that in has been huge for the detaching part, to be like, I'm not leaving any of you behind. We're all at this table. We all have the gifts freely given, and we give them the gifts of love, safety, being heard, being loved, being cherished, being adored, having an audience, having all the attention and affection they could ever want. So worthy, so worthy. And whatever their like hopes and dreams are, we give it to them here and now. And then I find, again, so many behaviors or things that were playing out that were so painful, even as an adult. It's because they were painful as a child. I didn't know how to conceptualize them. I didn't understand them. All these ingrained beliefs that didn't feel right. Well, now I can, with this knowledge, bring them into safety, articulate it in ways that make sense. And we bring all of us into the new reality, which is your true reality. I like to remind myself too, it's like, I never actually left the table. Neither did any of my little ones, right? Neither did my person. But we're just kind of gathering everyone back to the table and being like, yeah, we're all here. We're here to stay. And it's safe. And then the process of manifestation, especially that last part where it's, the Judas of like, not putting wine into old bottles. It gets a lot easier. It gets a lot easier when none of the children know they're going to be left behind, And so the next time you're reacting to, it can be very helpful, like have your person holding you. And then also, again, there's another workshop and meditation I did, which is another one of my favorite. I was really on a roll at one point, like last year, where I did the kind of writing your script for your life and instructing the inner child to, you're just reading lines. Like nothing bad's actually happening to you. We know how this movie ends. It's okay. You're safe. Like mom and dad, your higher selves, we're directing the whole play. We got this. You've already got the applause. Everyone's on your side. Everyone's your castmate. We're all good. It can be so helpful, especially for the parts of you that, again, they're clinging to something out here. Like whatever part of your reality that still feels really unsafe and like it's never going to change, you can just assume it's an inner child. You can assume it's a part of yourself that couldn't express something. Like something was ingrained that this means safety, so we're clinging to it. And just you lovingly get curious and be like, what's the line that keeps playing? Let's rewrite that line of like, no, I always have money in the bank. The bills are always paid. And I don't have to work for it because it comes from me. I write the script or whatever, because it's all my imagination. You might have to find the right language that makes sense to your inner child. But as soon as they really kind of know and you can walk through and rehearse the script a few times of like, see, the bills are paid. See, and all you did was lay on the couch or whatever your dream is, right? You played with animals all day. That was my inner child's dream. You play with animals all day and you get paid for it. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Find what speaks to that inner child, especially with the realities that really feel like they're not moving and that they're scared. We're going to go back to my book tomorrow, but the big theme of this book is like, I'm not playing with options. I'm not playing with options. And the part of you that's still playing with an option is probably a child in you that like it needed that option to be alive. So it's terrified to let it go. And so taking that 10 minutes, 15 minutes or longer to really get clear with them. And again, I would go into the Manifest Together library if you want help with that one, with the inner child work, with that, with the script ready one. All my old classes, by the way, are in that library, and we changed the price to like a fraction of what it used to be. So that's there. But let them tell you why are they scared? Why are they still playing this movie? Because it is just trying to heal something, right? The head plays. This is not mine. The head plays what the heart wants to heal, which to me is like that's where we do revision. That's where we do revision, and if you can make it more neutral, like writing a script, I find inner child work. It can move along with a little bit more ease when we see it for what it is, and we can. Even with the heavy emotion, we just know the child's just like moving through that. And it doesn't mean it's true, right? It's just what that theme of that script was. Before I posted the nervous system reset, the document, I had it label as, because obviously a lot of my meditations, I use AI now because it's still heavy for me. I can't even record it yet because my voice would just crack and I would cry, and I'll get there when I'm ready, or I don't have to. But when I do the AI, it's because I'm listening to it too. And I'm putting in very real stuff that's seriously loaded. And by the way, if you want to know if something's loaded for you, listen to your voice. Your voice will tell you the mechanics of what you're holding with that. But with the nervous system reset, I originally named it like horror survival. Like I'm the protagonist in an awful, awful movie right now, into the movie of chill, abundance, peace. Like I was like, what do I want my life movie to be? I want it to be like one of these soundscapes I listen to all day long, where it's just like beautiful scenery and the most beautiful like music, and everything's peaceful and relaxing, but still like magical and wonderful. But there's no like up and down. It's just like, no, we're just evolving, expanding into more beauty and peace and love. But if we have those old scripts that we haven't rescripted, it's okay to spend a little bit of time with that. But just like I recently allowed myself the space where I can like watch scarier movies or things like that without the fear of like, I'm going to manifest it. I started going back into it being like, yeah, scary stuff in life has happened. And I think I avoided scary movies because I was like, I've already lived that. I don't need to do that again. Like, I'm good. I don't need to find thrills in movies. My life is thrilling. When I started watching them again, it was more to see it, like see the character arc, see it for the writing, and then being like, okay, just like I can handle watching a scary movie, I can handle watching the scary movie of my life at times, and I can rescript it. I can rewrite it. I can survive it. So definitely check that out. It's all in the Manifest Together library. This was a long one. I intend it was helpful. Let me know in the comments. We will do more of the book tomorrow. Let me just see this comment. I forget those awkward moments of me, but I love your idea. Yeah, because those moments are deep within your subconscious. Yeah. What I'll just say about that, and I've toyed with making meditations around it. I think the nervous system one's a good start. What I'll probably add to one of my courses, because in my life there's some really heavy stuff that's happened, and I know I'm not alone. That's why I want these courses to go into like the nitty gritty, like the scary stuff, right? Where there has been there has been abuse, there's been manipulation, there's been some pretty harrowing memories that at least for me came up, and I was like, oh, I know I'm going to go sit and revise this, but this part of me has been locked up because I was not ready back then. And that's what a lot of the new material in the courses really came from. It was me getting so many repressed memories coming up. And as much as I wanted to turn my back on it again, it's like for that 11-year-old me, come here. For that, 7-year-old me, come here. For that 14-year-old me, oh my gosh, come here. And even seeing those pictures as I was going through them, I would feel the initial like, oh, I don't want to, it's going to make me vomit. It's really intense. But working with those parts of me, it's a huge act of self-love. All those parts of us, they didn't deserve it to begin with. And with just some imaginal acts and some meditations that I try to make it easier for everyone, we can set them free. And I do believe so much of the power of our imagination is in those younger selves. And obviously so many of those core beliefs, luckily, even though they're heavy emotions, it doesn't take much to change with a little bit of presence. And they change everything in those early years. So let me know in the comments if you're doing the courses, if you're, I have cat hair everywhere now. If you are doing the courses or the meditations, if you've worked with your younger child, I'd love to know what you've noticed. If you want help with any of that, I can see what I can squeeze in. All right. Otherwise, we will continue with the book tomorrow. And thank you all for joining. Okay. Bye, everyone. And thank you for my friend.